All right, now that you have posterized your image and you're ready to turn this into the first step of a grid drawing, you need to put a grid on top of this. And there are two ways to do it. One is you could measure out a grid and draw it on top of this picture, but you would have to print the photo out. That can be a little tricky. So as I directed you at the end of the last video to copy, right-click and copy this picture, what we're going to do is use Google Drawing, which we're familiar with, to create a grid. So I'm going to go to Google Drawing. There it is. Boom. Okay, so I'm going to open a new Google Drawings. And you know this stuff saves straight to your drive, so you should be good. I'm going to right-click and paste, and my picture that I just copied and pasted should be right there. Okay, I'm going to put it all the way up in the corner, and we're going to use this ruler. There's a ruler along the top edge and a ruler along the side edge. And we are going to make our drawing a little bit smaller. Just by pulling it in. The dimensions of our drawing need to be 4 inches by 5 inches because our drawing or painting that we're going to use this for is going to be twice as big, and we will be using the grid process to transfer this image onto a larger drawing space. So your drawing is going to be 8 inches by 10 inches. So half of that would be 4 by 5. In order to do that, your picture is probably not going to be the right dimension. So we are going to, if you double click on your picture, you get the option to crop. So we are going to crop this so that it is 4 by 5 inches. If yours is already pretty close, you don't need to do much. Oops, that stretched it. We don't want to stretch it. If your proportions change, just undo that. You want to make sure to get on the black bar and pull this up a little bit. I'm going to pull this down a little bit. I'm going to move my picture up a little bit. Crop that. See how you may have to kind of fuss with it a little bit. But eventually you want to crop it off so that you have 4 inches across the top and 5 inches down from the bottom. Now, if your picture is horizontal, it could be 4 inches 4 inches from top to bottom, and it could be 5 inches across. But you need it to be 4 inches by 5 inches. And it should be focused on just your face. You know, more of that is, more than your face is going to be a little bit complicated. So we can crop it down. Now, if you realize that this cropping is going to be a little bit too much, you can go back and redo Pixlr and make it a little bit smaller or something, but it's really, it's okay for this picture. You just want it to be not too many details. So zooming in on the face is good. Now that I have a 4 inch by 5 inch drawing or photo on my Google Drawing area, I'm going to make a grid. So I'm going to go to Insert up at the top, and one of the options is to make a table. We want the table to be 4 across and 5 down. 4 by 5. There it is. Now I'm going to go onto you have like a double lined blue edge for the border. I'm going to go across that, and you'll see a sort of a cross arrow, so a vertical and a horizontal arrow crossed. That moves the whole table. I'm going to go all the way up to the top corner. Then I'm going to go, I want to move the bottom of the grid down so it stretches evenly. So make sure that you are on top of that double blue line and it looks like an up and down arrow, and pull down to the bottom, and you'll notice it evens out those grids. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Make sure that you have that side to side arrow over the blue and pull it to the edge of your picture. And now what you have is a 1 inch grid of squares, 4 inches across, 5 inches down. And this is your grid drawing that you need to turn in. Before turning it in, go to where it says the title. It says Untitled Drawing Now. You're going to put your name, and you're going to put Grid Portrait. And then to turn this step in, you just attach this to the Google Classroom assignment to make a grid portrait. So make sure you have followed these steps and then attach this document so that I can check off that you have your portrait, it's posterized, and it has a grid over it. Your next step after this, your next assignment will be to actually use this to transfer this image to a grid you draw on paper. And we'll talk about that in just a few days, but this shouldn't take you very long. Obviously, I've done this in 2 short videos. It might take you a little bit longer. Feel free to stop and start the videos as needed. All right, good luck.